the time to get on to this, so I'm not going to gyp you. In fact, I think we can kind of customize a little bit for you, if I can, okay? So, when Jenny asked me to do this presentation, she knew that I had done a presentation for learning in retirement, and it was called Cooking for One. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I can use that as the basis for this presentation. Well, as it turned out, once I got to thinking about this presentation, it was quite a bit different than the Cooking for One, because cooking for two or three or whatever number of people you're caregiving for is different. So anyway, as Melissa, you already know, I'm a registered dietitian. It's now been 33 years. I'm wondering when I'm going to stop calling out how many years I've been working. But, for right now, I'm still comfortable with it. So 33 years, a lot of different experiences. Obviously, most recently here as the outpatient dietitian at the Door County Medical Center Clinic. But, I've worked in weight management, and I've worked the food service aspect of a hospital. I've done consulting to nursing homes. I've done a number of different things. But my favorite part is always to give a presentation. And this is my first time on a webinar platform type presentation. So it's nice I feel like this is really comfortable for me because there's only one person looking. Well, two if you count Jenny. So anyway, I have been a caregiver, and I'm not sure if Melissa, when you were participating in AMP, I think we did talk about that. It's 13 years now and still going. And initially I was a caregiver for my mom and dad. And although you asked my mom during that time that my dad was living, she would say that she was the caregiver. But truth be told, I was caring for both of them in a sense. And then my dad passed away, and for a while my mom was continuing to live on her own. And then when we moved from Illinois to Wisconsin, we moved her up to Wisconsin with us, and she lives with my husband and I. And I learned a lot through that experience. And whereas the Cooking for One presentation, I had to talk to people that live by themselves to get information for my presentation. This presentation is primarily kind of how I do it or how I've done it. And it continues to evolve. But I definitely want to be able to answer your questions. So I asked Jenny, if you have a question, let's talk about it right then. Okay. If I say something that doesn't seem clear to you. So, common issues when you're cooking for two people is, it gets very easy to kind of fall back on habits or what work. There's sometimes a lack of variety. And I'll give you for instance, when my mom was caring for my dad, and the caring got to be a bit more intense, she was doing a lot of carry out. And in fact, I think back to, I think she was doing 3 nights of carry out. And then, from different places. And then on Sundays, she would do a roast, or I should say my husband and I would do a roast at their house. And then we'd have the leftover for them for a weeknight. And then she would make, I don't know, spaghetti, and then have leftover spaghetti. I mean, it was kind of constantly the same thing. Low fruit and vegetable intake. Oftentimes, people are so focused on the main part of their meal, like the protein portion, that they kind of forget about the need or the benefit of fruits and vegetables. Low protein intake. Sometimes there's issues with chewing or swallowing with the protein foods, like in particular meats. So sometimes protein intake is low. And the calorie intake, I hear a lot of people, my mom included, if she did not live with us, she sleeps longer into the morning And, sometimes she's up and she would love to combine her breakfast with her lunch and then only have a dinner in the evening. So there's a lower calorie intake because there's typically sometimes only two meals a day, which can lead to issues, digestion issues with low fruit and vegetable intake. You don't always get enough fiber, and constipation tends to be common in the people we're caring for. So, without adequate fiber, that problem is compounded. There's weight loss potentially because not enough calories coming in. There's a loss of strength because we can't maintain our strength. We don't have enough protein to keep the, muscle mass up, and tiredness is also common. And, tiredness is common in the caregiver, right? So meals kind of get a little iffy. And some other issues could be, like in the case of my mom, when she was taking care of my dad and all the carry out that they were doing, there's potentially, with what I remember, it was pizza and it was beef sandwiches and Chinese food. I mean, potentially either high cholesterol or high sodium or high in sugar or lots of carbohydrates. Even today, when I'm talking with people that I counsel here at the clinic, I'll hear a history of, well, what do you eat in the morning? Well, I have a donut, or I have a sweet roll, and I have some fruit, and I have some juice. And then for lunch, if they have a lunch, maybe it's a piece of toast with peanut butter on it. And I mean, it's just carbohydrates all through the day. And then the high cost, if like the, carryouts, that can get costly over time to where that is going to potentially become an issue. How long can that go on? So, ideally, we should be aiming for 3 meals a day, even if they're smaller meals, so that we have an opportunity to get everything in and try to, hit these targets. And I don't know, Melissa, if you've seen, I don't know if you can even see what I'm showing here, but what we encourage is lots of vegetables, a half a plate of vegetables. I don't know if you can see this handout, but a half a plate of vegetables, a fourth of a plate of starches, whether it be, and I have whole grains listed here, but if it can't be brown rice or wild rice or a quinoa or a more exotic starch, it's okay if it's mashed potatoes. Okay, it's okay if it's white rice, or it's okay if it's noodles instead of whole grain noodles. And then protein takes up about a quarter of the plate, and I don't know that you can see that, but you know what? If you can't see it here, you'll see it here in a photo. I'm not the best photographer of food. And many times, like, you'll be like, oh gosh, what is that? But what is that? That's a piece of chicken with a little fruit sauce on it and some couscous and some asparagus. And that asparagus is frozen asparagus. The couscous has, we'll talk about flavoring things. The couscous has some flavoring in it of sauteed onion and a little bit of celery. I like to use nuts, although my mom, as time goes on, has a harder time chewing nuts and the various textures of things. But that is trying to demonstrate how vegetables should take up the majority of the plate. You may also be able to change the definition of a meal. A meal doesn't always have to be like the picture I just showed you. Sometimes a grilled cheese sandwich with a slice of tomato on it, on whole grain bread with a piece of fruit can work as a meal. egg on whole grain toast with fruit or yogurt or fruit and milk can work. You're still getting just about all your food groups in a very simple meal. Or a waffle, and I have whole grain here because that's ideal. But I wanted again make clear that I know people don't eat perfectly. I'm not looking to get people to eat perfectly, but I'm listing the ideal. Whole grain waffle with peanut butter along with some fruit and a glass of milk. Now, something was brought up to me when I was doing a learning and retirement presentation. I was talking about how when we buy fruit, we tend to clean our fruit. Like if I get strawberries and grapes and I don't know, blueberries, I tend to I will wash those in a colander and put them in a container, and we tend to eat from that container through the course of the week, and as does my mom. It is my observation that we do better when I prepare those fruits and put them in a container versus, I know some people have said, oh, Kathy, you should not be washing that fruit, until the time you're eating it. Well, what I've found is the raspberries or the strawberries, if I leave them in the container, they start to go bad. And I end up with a lot of waste. So for us to, get fruit ready, we typically do our shopping on Fridays. I've been doing a lot of online ordering now, but I do a lot of kind of preparation on the weekend for the week, including preparing the fruit. Okay, what are you thinking, Melissa? Any thoughts?
I'm thinking it's all very good.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
All good so far. Yeah.
All right. Can you relate to any of this?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Okay. All right. So towards the end, I want to hear what you are faced with. What's the biggest challenge? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is a picture of, I was like, you just gotta be creative sometimes. And this is kind of like a scrambled egg with some cheese. And there's a bit of beans on the top. I realize, I know not everybody loves beans, but beans are an awesome protein source. They're easy to chew. They help move the bowels. They are just really, I guess, flexible. I can put them on grains. I can mix them in vegetables. I can do a lot of different things with beans. In fact, you'll see later when we have leftover beans, beans in a Tupperware container kind of don't last very long. Once you open up a can of beans, I tend not to cook beans from scratch. I don't have time. I have an Instapot, but I haven't yet ventured into making a bag of beans in it. But when I've got a can of beans and I put them in a Tupperware container, they go quickly. And I don't mean that I use them quickly. I mean, if I don't use them quickly, they spoil. And you'll know it as soon as you open your container that those beans are bad. So one night we tend to buy, especially during COVID right now. I mean, I'm not doing a lot of, I do some carry out. I do a little bit of Papa Murphy's and we bake our own pizza, but we get cheese pizzas. And almost once a week, I would say at least every 2 weeks, I do a cheese pizza and we put vegetables on it. I mean, sometimes we'll put a little, I don't know if we have some ground beef or we'll put a little sausage on it, but generally it's vegetables. And I've put beans on my pizza, which people are like, oh, that's kind of weird. My mom, because we first started by chopping up those beans, like I used garbanzo beans, and well, number one, they'd kind of roll off the pizza if we didn't chop them. But my mom initially didn't even know we were doing beans on the pizza. And now she doesn't mind because we kind of fooled her initially. And I don't advise always fooling, but that was the way that we sampled it with my mom. So anyway, you'll see beans a lot in the pictures. Okay, embrace frozen food. Fresh is great, but don't be afraid to buy frozen, especially produce. I hear a lot of patients that I counsel who, especially in the winter months, are purchasing frozen fruit. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Fresh is great, but nothing wrong with frozen. Frozen vegetables are awesome. And, the thing is, it's always available and might help you eat more fruits and vegetables. And I would say this, we'll talk a little bit about meal planning. And one of the things I do is I read what, is on sale at Walmart. I read, I can't get everything at Walmart. So on occasion, I'm going to Econo, or on occasion, I'm going to Pick and Save. I look at the sales and I tend to buy what's on sale, and I work that into our weekly menu, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So I took a picture of there's a lot of frozen vegetables in the store. This happens to be a picture from Walmart. And I just thought it was kind of cute that they had the sign that says, you can see it better for you, kind of directing you as to, where the healthier choices are. And blend convenience food with fresh food. You can use, the thing about frozen vegetables are people are like, oh, they don't really taste good. Well, you can use, I write low sodium broth. You can use regular broth as well, but you can use low sodium broth to you can microwave frozen vegetables with a little broth over them. And in a minute, I'm a big fan of spices, so I'll show you my spice drawer. You can buy bags of frozen vegetable blends. And I'm going to move on to the next slide. There's a Bird's Eye product called Steam Fresh, and they've got, some of them are just vegetables and some are a combination of some sort of whole grain carbohydrate and vegetables. And you can add, oh gosh, what have we done? We've added scrambled eggs to these to kind of make it like a fried rice or a fried grain. You can add chicken, you can add fish, you can add any protein food that you want to these. And it's very quick and easy. So add beans, leftover chicken, hard-boiled eggs. We've done scrambled eggs. These frozen foods are just very versatile. Another thing we do is batch cook. I've noticed when we make lasagna, we'll make a 9x13 pan of lasagna, and half of that pan will serve for us, the three of us, twice. So we have it fresh, we have it as a leftover, and then that other half a pan, I scoop it out, I put it into a plastic container, and I stick it in the freezer. And then we've got potentially another 2 meals ready to go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I love to do that, especially around the winter months.
Yes.
With my caregiving job, but then also Walgreens, I like to make for me and my caregiver, my client. I like to make batches of soup, chili, casseroles, you name it.
Yep.
Because then she has some meals in her freezer that I can help defrost for her and reheat for her, and it's already cooked and ready to go. I have some for me then as a benefit, as also as being a caregiver. That's a meal for me.
Right.
Working with her on the clock as well. So yeah, I love making things in bulk.
Good, good. And yeah, I mean, it saves our life, you
Yeah,
know,
it
it
does.
really does. And
It saves money too because
it,
you also have several meals ahead of time
yep,
as well.
that's
So
right. That's right.
yeah,
And a suggestion is to get disposable containers, albeit you don't need to put it in a frozen container. I mean, I've got those white Corel casserole type things, or Pyrex containers. They suit the purpose too, but you only have so many of those typically. But disposable containers work great. Stick it in the refrigerator to defrost, and then scoop out the servings you need and heat it up. So,
yeah. I was gonna say I love Dollar Tree's containers. One,
yes,
they're really good quality. Two, you
yes,
get 4 or 5 of them in one pack for a
yes.
buck.
Yes, I have that in my notes. Now I'm not even looking at my notes. I'm just looking at my presentation and looking at you. But that's where I have purchased them too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's again, just to shake it up a little bit, here's a bowl of chili. What does chili become for us? Now, my mom eats chili. Not a problem. But so what did we do then? Well, this turned into like a nacho, which my mom is not fond of. So, she had a second bowl of chili as a leftover, but, we like to shake it up. So learn to love your leftovers. One of the hints I've incorporated is I try to think of what's a different country. How can I turn something that's kind of plain into something Chinese or something Italian or something, gosh, German. I have spices that from Germany, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to jump ahead. I think, yeah, there's my spice drawer. And I don't know if I can see what I've got in there, but I can tell you. I mean, I've got Melissa, have you ever heard of? I was turned on to Penzies. I was given a gift one time. Penzies spices. They have storefronts. I think they are based out of Wisconsin. I know they're based out of Wisconsin, and there's some storefronts I think in Appleton and down in Milwaukee. But there used to be 2 in Illinois. I think one is closed, but they do great spice blends, and their website gives a number of different ideas for use of their spices. Or so you got McCormick, spices in your house, or whatever brand you've got.
Do you know what the website is for their spices?
It's Penzies.com.
Penzies.com. Okay.
And Penzies is spelled Penzeys.
Penzeys. Okay.
Yep. Okay. And so I don't know if I can see it in here, but I've got a fajita spice, and you can see it there. The one great thing about their spices is they tend to be lower in sodium. Not all have salt anyway, but the ones that do have salt don't have that chemical taste that you would get, in like one of those seasoning packets, that you buy, unless you're making your chili from real scratch. But fajita seasoning is flexible for chili, and I can use it for anything Mexican. I've got a jerk seasoning. There's a Bavarian, you can't see it, but I use that for pork. Bangkok blend when we're going to do a stir fry. There's Krakow Nights, which is like a Polish seasoning. That's really good for pork chops. And so use spices. All right.
P-E-N-C. Can you spell it one more time for me?
Penzeys.
Thank you.
Yep. Are you going to try to go on it now?
Well, not right now, but
Okay.
I will.
All right. All right. Penzies. And I'm going to go back here. And then, some things can be eaten cold as a leftover. I'm thinking, what have we tried that would be kind of out of the ordinary? Well, okay, so we had some leftover pasta. It was in the refrigerator. Threw some vegetables in there, and it was turned into a pasta salad, although originally that pasta was served hot. Leftover meat, turn that into, with, the addition of mayonnaise or salad dressing, turn it into a chicken salad or a ham salad. Just think out of the box. Here is one of those rotisserie chickens that you can get at Walmart. Melissa, does the person you're caring for like chicken?
Loves chicken. Yeah.
Loves chicken. Okay, so let's say you do the rotisserie chicken. They eat, a leg, or they eat the breast off that. What are you going to do with the leftover chicken?
Freeze it.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, so you could do the same again, or you can, like I was just saying, you can think in terms of, I could do chicken salad with it. I could put the chicken on the salad. I could use that chicken for a soup. You can do anything with it. The picture isn't all that good, but it was a delicious salad. It's a wild rice salad that has chopped apples in it, some red pepper, a little celery, green onion, and leftover chicken from that rotisserie chicken.
Again, what's in
go ahead.
What's in the last one? The wild rice one?
Yep, wild rice. It is served kind of room temperature. By the picture you can't really tell, but usually it's about room temperature. You make your wild rice. You throw in the chopped vegetables. I tend to put in nuts into things, and I do a slivered almond in this. And then the chicken, and it's kind of room temperature, it's not hot and it's not chilled by the time you're serving it. Okay. And this is salmon on top of that leftover pasta that I added. I'm always looking like what's on its way out. I love those little cherry tomatoes, and keep those on the counter, but I throw them into almost everything. And my sauce on this is just Italian dressing with some salmon on top. A picture of fish. That's just a tilapia that was frozen. And these are, I think that these were probably frozen vegetables, but you could, in the summer months, we do some grilling, and we do a lot of grilled vegetables. Those might have been fresh. This is a presentation from a while ago now. And that's like a little pineapple salsa on top of the fish that keeps in your refrigerator. And I think that is probably wild rice in the background. Okay. Any thoughts before I talk about boosting protein intake? Fish.
I love fish. I love salmon. I love whitefish. You name it. Salmon, whatever. And I love doing something like that where I'll cook the fish, and then I will, because my client takes advantage of Lakeshore Cap, the food pantry, and sometimes it gets fish. So what I'll do is I'll cook it up, and then I'll add something like similar like that picture. I'll add some red peppers or green peppers and some rice on the side, something like that. And
good.
Yeah.
Good. It sounds like we could go into business, Melissa.
Yeah.
That's great. And I'm going to take this opportunity. I think that this is a good time for me to kind of tell you, because the title of this presentation is meal planning. I find, because I'm living caregiving every day, that, although I think to how I was raised, my mom did no meal planning at all. She was the type that like would stop on her way home from work or, and pick up whatever she was going to fix for dinner that night. Well, especially right now, I don't like going to the store. I don't really want to go to the store. So I have, and I don't know if you can see this, I don't have this on my work computer, and I don't have it incorporated into this presentation, but this is a kind of it's one sheet of paper. It's 8.5 by 11. I use it every week to plan, not breakfast and lunch so much, because my breakfast tends to be during the week. It's pretty much the same 5 days a week. I don't plan breakfast. I don't plan lunch so much because I take my sandwich or I eat in the, hospital's cafe. But my dinners, I plan them out. And I usually,
is there a way I could get a copy of that?
Yeah, for sure. I've got this on my home computer.
Yes.
You know what? I could actually scan this too and send it to you. But I fill this out. Like this is the one for this week where, I fill this out and I do a grocery list from our meals for the week. And on the back, you'll get this too, Melissa. On the back has, well, you'll have to fill it in for what your client likes. I have typed in here, under fruits, vegetables, and herbs, I have tomatoes, spinach, lettuce, avocado, carrots, cucumber. You have to fill in, but I've got the categories for you to work with. And I've got, multiple copies of this, and I do this every week. And we were talking about fish, and that's why I moved on to this. We have fish typically twice a week of some sort. If my mom was not with us, we probably would have it more often. But I mean, she was not a fish lover, and I wouldn't say she's a lover, but she's a fish tolerator now. So we do it twice a week, and then on the weekends, on Sunday in particular, I do kind of my biggest meal. Whether it be pork chops or generally it's something that my mom picks that we will have enough for a leftover. So that's 4 meals. And then we typically do a salad, and I call it a garbage salad. On the weeknights, we might have a soup that's easy to fix. And then we might do like a grain bowl, where I'm using whatever, the couscous or the quinoa or the wild rice, and we're putting things on top. And, then my 7 days are done. It's really pretty easy. And then I go back to my grocery list where I already have my staples, and I'm circling the staples that we want, the things that we always get. And then I just add in the things that are on my menu that I need. And it's very fast. And I don't know about you, but as time goes by, and I can speak for Jenny, when I worked for Jenny made all kinds of lists, and lists, Jen, keep the things from spinning around in your head, right? So you can think about what's most important. And I just find that when I do that meal planning and I write things down, I don't have to think about it anymore. It's done.
I think it holds you accountable in a way.
Right.
I'm going to make these meals and I don't have to think about it again then.
That's right. Rather than, I so many times, and I'm always pointing over here because these my chairs, I'll have somebody in the chair and I'll be like, do you know what you're having for dinner tonight? No, I have to stop on the way home, Oh, poor them, but if that's their style, that's their style. But if I could teach anybody what to do, it would be make your menu and shop your grocery list. Okay. All right. So boosting protein intake. I just wanted you to know that, 1 ounce of meat is the equivalent of roughly an egg or 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, a 1/2 cup of beans, an ounce of cheese, 1/4 of a cup of cottage cheese, or about 1/3 of a cup of Greek yogurt. And I list Greek yogurt because it tends to be higher in protein. But does it have to be Greek yogurt? No, it could be, regular yogurt. But the Greek yogurt will tend to give you more protein. It's probably 1/3 of a cup of Greek yogurt is probably the equivalent of 1/2 a cup of regular yogurt in terms of its protein intake. Now, a lot of people use protein bars. If you're caregiving, I don't know how easily these protein bars would be chewed by your client. They're either chewy or they're crunchy, neither of which my mother would be able to do. But there's protein powders and there's protein drinks that people can use. But, as they age, in order to maintain that muscle mass, they do still need protein. And how can we get more fruits and vegetables into the day? Well, leftover veggies in a soup, raw vegetables with a dip or salsa, dried fruits, good for, helping move your bowels, but also a quick snack. And then what about the vegetables that need to be jazzed up a little bit? Fresh lemon, fresh lime juice, chopped fresh herbs. Doesn't have to be fresh. It can be from your spice drawer. Can be dried as well. Oils and vinegars. I just have to say, it's exciting to live in Door County where we can get those, fun balsamic vinegars. I don't always buy them, but I have been the happy recipient of them as gifts. And I have gotten, it's an orange flavored balsamic that is delicious with chicken, delicious with fish. I have a peach flavored balsamic that is delicious on a salad, of course, but also really good on I've used it on shrimp. I've used it on, seafood primarily, and it's really good too.
Where did you get your peach flavored balsamic?
At that store, well, you got 2 places here in Sturgeon Bay, Melissa. That store on 3rd Avenue. There's a restaurant bar called Root, ROOT. They, like, half their store is, the front of it is the bar, and then half is the tasting, or that market, Madison Street Market. Yes.
I love Madison Street Market, only for the fact of their deli. They have those like healthy sandwiches.
Yep.
They're really reasonable too over there.
Yep. Dee Dee has done a really good job with that place. And expanding. And the one thing I can say, I know that those bottles, they aren't inexpensive. I mean, it's an investment. But I don't use much balsamic. It's so powerful. You don't need to use a lot. I'm thinking 2 tablespoons is enough for 3 pieces of fish, to give it just a hint of flavor. So, and here is one of those pizzas that I took frozen vegetables, although I see some frozen onion there, but some tomato, mushroom, there's a little bit of green onion, and I don't know if I have any beans tucked into that. Typically the beans go under a little extra cheese or underneath the vegetables. I think I do see some black beans on that pizza, but we've come up with some really odd combinations. In fact, I think that this is one we did cauliflower on pizza. It's not a cauliflower crust. It's not gluten-free. But yeah, I think there's cauliflower on that pizza. And I mean, they're always good and different. What's Valmy Happy Hour used to be cheap and good? This is good and different. And it's pretty darn cheap too, because it's cheese pizzas. Okay, so in conclusion, I would want to tell you, be patient with yourself. It's not like one can necessarily, do meal planning for 7 dinners and do that shopping list and, have a perfect week of eating. It just doesn't exist right away. But come up with, 2 baby steps that you can do either to make things work faster for you or increase your variety, so that you can concentrate on caregiving instead of the cooking aspect. Okay? So what do you think? Any thoughts, Melissa?
I would think this is great. I think you definitely have to be patient with the one you care for.
Yes.
Some habits are bad to break. For instance, she always sometimes wants me when Halloween candy is on sale to buy Halloween candy. So it's very hard to be. It's hard to be patient, but she likes fruits and vegetables.
Good, good.
And I kind of like how you showed pictures of different ways you can do, like for instance the fruits and vegetables on the pizza.
Yep.
Beans underneath the cheese.
Yep.
So
yep.
I think that's all very good. Stuff I would not have thought of. I'm already cooking for her and cooking for me, but this is new stuff now that I can take to her and say, hey, this is what I learned.
Yes.
What can we go from there to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Melissa, I would, once I get this form to you, yeah. I would literally offer her, because people forget the foods they like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I even forget what I like. And, I would just, I've got a list here of, of fruits. I would just go apples, bananas, raspberries, strawberries, pineapple, blueberries, peaches, canned peaches, oranges, mandarin oranges, grapes, blackberries. Just go down the list of every category so that you learn. If she hasn't remembered, what she likes, you learn what she likes. And I mean, I would do that for vegetables. I would do that. I've got my meat list of bacon, sausage, eggs, deli turkey, just hamburger patties, canned tuna, cottage cheese, peanut butter, chicken. You probably know these things because it sounds like you've been, caregiving for her for a little bit now.
Yeah.
But just create a customized list for her.
Yeah.
And then I would suggest doing this for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Do you need my email, or can Jenny give it to Kathy, or
what do you want me to do, Jen? I can, Melissa, I have no problem sending to you. I mean, Jenny, if you want to be our in between, but
if you want to send it to me, then I can certainly send it to the people that missed today too.
Okay. All right. I will send to you, Jen, tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. I could scan it, but I think I'll forward it from home.
So I have a question about the customized list. Once you send that, or once I receive it, she doesn't hardly eat breakfast.
Yes.
We're both have a bad habit of not eating breakfast, so I would like to break that habit and do it. So, with that list, you fill it out. Is that correct?
Yes, you have got to fill in. I've got categories. I've got fruits, vegetables, herbs, beverages, bread, cereals, frozen foods, dairy, condiments, spices, oils, canned goods, and meat, poultry, seafood. So you've got to fill that in, but this is a template. And then on the other side, we've got the breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you've got to fill it in. This is just a working template, and I
Okay.
use it every week.
Perfect.
Okay. You know, I know that this is just a story I thought of. How did this get started for us? It got started when my dad had passed away. My mom was living by herself and no longer driving. And I had to take my mom to the store. And I remember the first couple of times, like we had a list that was like 3 items. But get her shopping cart after, oh my gosh, an hour and a half in the store, just shoot me. On a Saturday, you know, this got started out of the need for us to do some planning for her. And then, you know, the grocery list, rather than just walking up and down the aisles, which I know it was a means to getting out of the house also, but not the way I wanted to spend my Saturday afternoon. So that's how this got created. Like we had to do something.
It probably helped you save money too, doing it.
Yes, yes. And, you know, money. And for a lot of the people that I work with, you know, if they're here for weight management and they're stopping at the store on the way home, they're grabbing things that they otherwise wouldn't. Yeah. So it helps, you know, when you're on for whatever your goal is. It's helped. So, okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I know 10 to 11, I have no plans necessary. If you have no questions, Melissa, you know where I am. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This was really awesome. Yeah, this
Good.
was really awesome. So,
good. So
yeah,
watch.
I don't have any further questions at this time. So.
Okay. Okay, and you watch for Jenny, I may be able to get, I don't know, I might have it in my computer. I know I've got a stack of them in my files. So I probably did send it at one point, but we'll get it to you as soon as I can.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Well, thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I can sign off.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.